Hello, everyone. Hang on. I think I need to plug in here. Hold on. So, I was in a coaching call and I could not get out. So this is coming to you a little late. I sure hope people still pop on. It is day 13. Can you believe that? We are really moving right along. We're almost halfway through. We gave away another book. Okay, so Pastor Dean Fulks from outside of Columbus at Life Point Church has been giving away one of these books every single week. And so we just gave away our second one to Julie. So Julie went and bought one for all of her family. So she bought one for two sisters, her best friend, I guess that's family, herself, and her mother. And they're like doing this together. So they're going to start it the day after Easter. And so, yeah, I decided, okay, they need one more. I don't know who they're going to ask, but I'm sure she'll think of somebody. So these books are going away fast. Next week, we'll give another one away. You guys just honestly jump in. You can go to my Facebook page, @𝐘𝐨𝐿.com, or even my personal Facebook page, and you can just look down, scroll down on my page, and you'll see all 13 days. Another really easy way of doing this, you can honestly do it on a car drive. You can go to my Facebook page and click on videos. And in videos, you will see just the lineup of all of them. So any of those are great ways to go ahead and get started. We are doing this like 30-day challenge to find faith, hope, and love. Like we need that in the world today. So let's go ahead and get started. It's the weekend. I worry that no one will get on, but this is good for replay. So hop on. Oh, somebody's here. So that's good too. Nice seeing you, friend. Go ahead. I'm looking at comments. If you want to post a comment, then I'll know who you are, or be quiet. I don't really care. It's all good. I know that this is a great lesson. So we're hard workers in the world. In the United States, there were some stats in the reading today about how we're one of the hardest working countries. I don't think that's anything to brag about. My husband and I, when we first got married, it's almost embarrassing to say, but part of our struggle was to be like who worked the hardest. It was ridiculous. Like, one of us would say, well, I was at work all day, or, the other one, or like, well, I got up at whatever time. Like, we never do that anymore. Like now I'm like, honey, I feel bad for you. And I want you to retire. We would never, we want our lives to be comfortable and blessed, but yet we're supposed to work hard for the Lord. So how do you balance this, right? And what kind of work are we supposed to be doing? And ultimately, we want our work to be blessing us. And so no matter what we're doing, that's the goal, is that it gets the people we serve, and it gets us to new levels. We just simply want to advance. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and kind of break down this training. It's only 10 minutes long. So I'm going to talk about the few key points. Number one, in 1980, he brings up, or in the 80s, he brings up this song that was like, take this job and shove it. Like, honestly, like sometimes people feel that way. We want to be, and God wants us in work that blesses us and work that feels good, feeds the soul, and you come home more fulfilled. Nowadays, I get confused. The lines are muddied for me between my work and my play because I love it so much, right? So the next thing that we're going to talk about, so do you love your work, right? Ultimately, does your work feed your soul? Okay, be thinking on that. Now, the next thing is, don't make work your God. Like, don't worship your work. Many people do that. Like, their value is in their work. They work so hard to please the powers that be at their work. And we can easily start to realize, what is worship? Well, worship is when your focus is on that, right? Going to the next level. Meeting standards and everything, when that is your focus. Now, that makes for a great employee. So how can this be wrong? Really, I can remember back when I was a director of nursing, like, of course, I really wanted our stats. I'm competitive. So I really wanted like our state numbers and federal numbers to beat all the other facilities that I work for. Like, we were going to have the lowest infection control rates, and we were going to have the minimal amount of errors. And the highest amount of patient satisfaction. Like that was my goal. But did I spend my time focusing on that, or was I spending my time on like pleasing God? And that's kind of what we want to think about. Do you do this? Right? So we have three things. Work takes from us. Takes. When we're working to please God and serve others, keep that as your kind of radar for your work. Like, is it pleasing God? Is it pleasing others? And in what way? So work can just take. And when you're really serving to please others, like a service-minded individual, it doesn't matter if you're pumping gas, if you're an at-home mom, if you're running a big facility, if that's what your goal is to serve, then you get fulfilled back. Your tank gets refilled. And so that this helps you know. Also, work measures you. God doesn't measure you. God will like recognize where you're falling short, but he's waiting to redirect and correct and all this stuff. You want to be in a work environment that's like this. You want to be in a work environment that when something happens and it's not quite right, that they look and they say, hey, I want to help you. Let's figure this out. And then you're always growing and going to the next level. Like that's the kind of work you want to do. The next thing is gives you equal pay. How many people work at a place that the pay isn't equal? Well, with God, when you invest in God and you work for God, you are always blessed in proportion. Hey, amen. Like if there's ever a reason to work for God, this is it. Because in the world, we have all these things. Well, am I a man or a woman? Am I old or am I young? Am I in this job or that job? Do I work for this company or that company? All these factors relate to how well you're reimbursed. How well you're compensated for the work that you do. With God, you're just simply blessed. Well, we can't go through this lesson today without talking about the story of the talents. Now, we know that like I might sometimes when I'm coaching my clients, I say your talent. But the truth is a talent, did you know this, is a denarii, and it is 10,000 of them. One talent is 10,000 of them. Many of us don't know that. So when you're thinking of the story of the talent, like you're thinking of somebody who had 1, 3, or 5. Okay, so if you had one talent, you're like, oh, no big deal. So he kept protection of the one. It's not much. He was just trying to be wise with this. It's 10,000, right? And the person with 5, so investing those 5 is 50,000, right? But what we know from the story is that you're not supposed to be timid. You're not supposed to protect this. Like whatever you have, you're supposed to use it to double down, to glorify the kingdom, to let it grow and multiply. And you can do it by way of the world, which I have done for most of my life. And it worked good. I loved it. It felt great. But I can also do it for God. And no, I'm not saying that you all need to just go quit your jobs and go do what I do or go to another country. I mean, that's great too. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is if your job does what I listed earlier, if your job isn't trying to make them into your God, if your job measures you appropriately, if your job doesn't just take but also gives, allows you to be service-minded over just numbers, if that happens, this is a great place for you. But then go boldly and make sure that your job is within your gifts and talents. So that means like, do you understand that? I always think this, like how many years did I work in a place where I did or didn't use my talents? Fortunate for me, I think God's been watching over me the whole time, and I know he has been all of us, but I was developing some talent that was naturally in me, some leadership, some creativity, like this idea of managing people. You know, I'm keeping track of hundreds of coaching clients and everything they're doing. Well, and also I don't want to just like show them one little thing and then have them dependent on me. I want to teach them so that it changes them and then they're able to go and serve other people. Like I learned that from my nursing days. I don't want a nurse or an aide to do things the right way when they're standing in front of me or when I'm doing it for them. I want to teach them and instruct them so that they can then go on and do this more and more and then teach the next person. Like those sorts of things I'm able to take with me. So right now, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, think about like, am I multiplying? Am I doing work that is in alignment with God? Like, would God do this work that I'm doing? That's a sure sign of whether you're in a place you should be or not. Like if God would not do what you're doing, then you start to think, but there are so many jobs that God would do. Think of all the things God did. He was a fisherman. You know, he was kind of a salesman. He was an author. He was a speaker. Like he thought of all sorts of, he used his talent in many different ways. And this is where we get off on our purpose. We sometimes think that we have to be doing certain things and it messes with us. Wherever you're at, moms at home, dads at home, people in leadership positions, people who are in service. My husband works at a grocery store. Like, you have an opportunity to share your gifts and talents, and it changes the people you serve. That's what we want for you. All right, so now there's some homework, as always. So I'm going to give you a few things for you to think on. First, we want you to pray about your work. Does it matter? It doesn't matter if you're at home, if you're leading kids, or if you're in a big corporation, doesn't matter. Pray about your work and ask God to open your eyes to ways that you can be working for him inside of that. So what is the work that Jesus did? You know, think about that. He served, he loved, he taught. In your work setting, do you do those things? Doesn't matter where you're at. Do you serve with grace? Do you love unconditionally? Do you think about how Jesus did it, and are you doing that at your workplace? Number 2, have you allowed your work to become your God? Like, is that your focus? Do I meet the standards there? Am I getting in early? Am I like putting all my energy when I'm at home? Am I thinking about work? Like, are you able to keep your focus on God and the call he has for you? Number 3, where are you doing the littlest that's possible? I have this sometimes. Like, I think to myself, okay, making my bed, like picking up the house. It's just my husband and I now. Like, I get tempted to let things slide. It's embarrassing. It is. It's embarrassing. But I love the work that I do. I can't wait to get in here and do this. And I sometimes get halfway up the steps because our basement's this huge bedroom in the basement. It's cool and wonderful. But I get halfway up the steps and I'm like, Nikki, go back and make your darn bed. Like, it sounds silly, but God gave me this house. My husband worked hard for this house, and so did I. I don't want to treat the things that we have without dignity and respect and glory. And so I need to have a desire to make every part of the things that I do in a way that bless others and show that I care and that I don't know, you get it. You get what I'm saying. Number 4, what are your gifts and talents? Many people don't know. I can't even tell you how many people that I do life coaching with. And I'm telling you, they don't know their gifts and talents yet. Or sometimes they know their gifts and talents, but they don't know their spiritual gifts. They know that I'm really good. They don't even say talented. I'm really skilled at, or I'm really good at this. It comes natural to me. That's God's gifting. Like, come on. And so think to yourself, what are you really good at? I was thinking of my doctor. So she's a PA actually. So Glenda, she left for a season. I was so sad. I was like, man, no, I trusted her. She's respectful. She listens. She goes the extra mile, looks things up. She says more questions. She is in her sweet spot. This is where she's meant to be. So she could be talented and a worker, smart, able to get through this schooling, show up, work, whatever. But if she didn't serve, she serves. On top of her being in this place where she's supposed to be, she's serving with a servant's heart, and you feel it. And when she came back, I was like, yes, that's the kind of work I want you guys to be doing, no matter where you're at. Okay, me too. So now, number 5, does your job contradict what God would? So is it equally yoked? We say this when we're talking about getting married, but is your job equally yoked? Like I mentioned this early on, like, would God do your job? Well, my PA, would God do that work? Yes. Would God do my work? Write books, coach people? Absolutely. Jesus did. Would God work like my husband? Provide food and make sure that people are able to be nourished? Absolutely. But if he does it in a horrible way, and he's mean and rude, and if I coach people in a horrible way that brings them down instead of builds them up, we mess it up, right? So whatever you're doing, is it equally yoked? And then if it is, are you doing it the way God would? Okay, number 6, he wants you where you can plant spiritual seeds. Okay, this is a big one for my coaching clients when they're working on life purpose. So they sometimes say, I got this opportunity for this job and I don't know if it's right for me. And we start looking at it and we can see that, okay, wait a minute. They don't allow you to, this is a perfect example. So I worked for an organization for about 15 to 20 of my working years, and they were secular. So you might think, oh, well, okay, well then maybe I shouldn't work there. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Jesus went and worked among the people. Absolutely. But are you allowed to serve and be an example and a witness at that job? So no, you don't necessarily need to be all, I think we call it 𝐘𝐨𝐿 or something like that, but you don't need to be spouting off Bible verses. Good grief. Just like do unto others as they would do unto you, or live by the golden rule. Like speak that, live by the golden rule. Just because you're in secular places, like that's what Jesus did. Embrace those. When I say, does your work allow you to plant spiritual seeds? I mean, are they asking you to do shady things? I had to quit a job. My first talk show, I loved it. I had millions of listeners. And I chose to leave that show and go out on my own, which now 4,000 people listen to my millions. I could be reaching God with millions of people. And I chose to go out on my own for my 4,000 that I'll just multiply and grow, because that setting was marketing on top of my talk show with spiritual coaching. They were promoting and selling tarot cards and things I don't believe in. And so is your job, even if you're gifted and talented in it, is it in alignment with something? And are you able to plant spiritual seeds in this place? Number 7, the last one, pray for God to open your eyes for opportunities for you to be service-minded and to be yoked and to be doubling down and to be investing in your talent, right? All right. So guys, go live, love, learn, and lead according to the call God has on your life. See you tomorrow.